So the question is this: how do thought leaders, school dropouts, former and current students find out what's next after they do or don't cross that stage? If you want to know the secrets to starting the career or business of your dreams, getting paid whatever you desire, and discovering what you do the best with the least amount of effort, then this is the right podcast for you. I'm Shawn Anthony, and this is School's Over. Now what? The podcast. Today's episode features none other than J.R. Rivera. Guys, if you are familiar with the hashtag Teachers of Instagram, or you watch anything inspirational happening right now with education, you already know who this guy is. He's a dynamic keynote inspirational speaker and educational consultant who has empowered over 50,000 students and more than 5,000 educators. JR is known for winning BET's Most Inspiring Instagram in the United States in 2015. He's the author of a future bestseller, What's Eating Up Your Time, and he's co-authored 3 financial books just for children. Guys, in this particular episode, we talk about his journey. And you know, sometimes things happen in your life that you can least expect, and you don't understand why they happen to you. In this episode, we talk about blessings in disguise. And a lot of times when you go through these blessings that you never knew that you would receive, you begin to walk on your own journey, but begin to walk in your purpose. This episode, we talk nothing but that. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you episode 9, Walking in Your Purpose with the J.R. Rivera. We have Mr. JR himself with us for this particular episode. And man, first of all, I just want to welcome you to the show.
My pleasure to be on.
Man, I follow a lot of things on Instagram, and I'm pretty sure all of our listeners do as well. And one of the most very popular hashtags right now is Teachers of Instagram. So I'm scrolling through the Teachers of Instagram, and I stumble across your profile page, and I could not stop watching video after video. You are an inspiration to people, man. So I gotta ask that question: what motivates you?
Oh man, the main thing that motivates me is just coming from such a struggle early on in life and understanding, you know, how valuable words are and the ability to build or break somebody with words. And I just choose to build people up, man, as often as possible.
Wow, man. When you look at the words and how you go about putting it together, it seems as if you're really focused on impacting the youth. Is that your main target?
Absolutely. And that goes hand in hand with, being an educator and being able to impact educators is because it'll trickle down to the kids. You know, I feel like the kids are our future, and, you know, it's up to us to make sure that the path is a little bit, you know, less bumpy and a little bit more lighted along the way. You know, everybody don't have to go through the same dark valley to get to the top.
Man. And you talk about a little bit about your struggle, and I'm pretty sure watching your videos, man, you definitely relate, you know, your struggle into everyday, you know, values. Is there a certain time in your life where where you was at your lowest point? Could you tell us a little bit about that? Could you take us there?
Oh man, I would have to say in college, you know, growing up without a father present in the home because my father was taken to prison for 17 years for selling drugs, having a single mother and no one in my family ever charted, you know, the territory of going to college. I was in college and I got the pink slip, man, and it was crazy to me because I was an athlete. I also had academic awards and scholarships and all these things. So I go off to college thinking that everything's paid for, and I didn't know any better. I marked Florida prepaid, which I found out later means that your parents had been paying for college all along, which was not the case for me. And I got it mixed up with Florida Bright Futures. So I checked this box, and all my stuff is paid for. And after probably like the first, I'll say like 3 or 4 weeks of school, the front office, they started telling me where we're staying at in the dorm. They're like, you need to check your mailbox because they just came and said that, you know, you haven't checked your mailbox and there's an important notice for you. So I finally go to the mailbox and there's a pink slip in there, man. And then basically it's telling me that I owe like $946.32.
Oh my God.
And I remember like, man, where am I gonna get this money from? My mom don't have it. My father's in prison. Like, I'm done. I gotta go back home because I couldn't get a job. I was playing Division I football. So I'm like, this is crazy. And I was also embarrassed, man. And that's the big thing, you know, at that lowest point is that a lot of people, they get embarrassed and they just, you know, hit the eject button and they release. They stop pushing. They stop going. They just hit the eject button. But for me, in that embarrassing moment, I actually exposed myself, you know, to my mom and another family member, my uncle, and they were able to come up with the money. You know, I got a couple cussing out and, you know, what are you doing? You need to come home. But, you know, they saw my desire to develop as a young man and to finish the journey that I started, you know, and, you know, they got that done for me. And to me, that was one of my lowest points because I thought I had to stop because of something that was outside of my reach, and I was embarrassed. But, you know, it also built some character, and it built something in me where I'm not afraid to expose myself.
Wow. Looking back at that story, like, is there anything now that, you know, you've went, you know, beyond that, looking back at that story, anything you would have done differently?
First of all, I would have definitely figured out a way to have some type of income in college. And I also, you know, I learned from that, and I didn't get that big meal plan and stay in the fancy dorm room and all of that stuff. So I was good on the money. So I learned from that. But I think just allowing other people into my situation earlier, that would be big.
Wow. And so I guess being more vulnerable is something, you know, a lot of times when you're in school or you're in college, I mean, I could be honest with you, there's times where your particular card that you use for the CAF, you might run out of a couple swipes. You might have to use your friend's swipes. There might be times where, you know, it's hard and you might not be able to get that meal that you wanted. You might not be able to have that Chinese food. You may have to go to that dollar menu at McDonald's. So that's something a lot of people can relate to. So that person that is in college right now, that's struggling just financially, what advice could you give them?
Oh man, the biggest thing is to find a team, man. Find a team of people, whether it's one or two, that you can, you know, lean on in rough times. You pretty much stated it. You know, I found people that I could lean on. When I was in college, there were a couple girls that, you know, stayed around me and they knew my situation a little bit, and they would cook and they were like, hey, come over. After practice, I would eat from different people. I had some teammates that would look out, you know, because first I didn't have my full scholarship with football. That's a whole nother story. I had to work for that and get my full scholarship for football because I had chosen to go to UCF. They dropped their football coach that year, and all of the scholarships were gone. So at the last moment, I went to Florida Atlantic University, which was a blessing in disguise, but I didn't have my full scholarship. So, you know, there were certain things that I leaned on my teammates for, like for books. I would find people that had the same classes, borrow their books. You know, that's a big one that people overlook. The book cost for me, you know, at that time was like $500 or $600 each semester. So I didn't spend a dime. I just borrowed books. And, you know, those are things that I would definitely say to that person that's struggling financially is, you know, you don't have to have on the newest clothes. You don't have to be out at the clubs. You don't have to be on every scene, but you do have to chase your dream daily. And the only way that you can do that is with someone else you can lean on in rough times.
Wow, man. And that's so dope. You know, a lot of people transfer from schools, right? And you'll see someone in your class today, and then next semester, you know, they'll go off to a different place. One thing that you said that really, I'm pretty sure got to a lot of our listeners at that moment is you went from, you went from one school and you go to FAU, and you mentioned about it was a blessing in disguise. What's one of those blessings?
Oh man, the biggest blessing. I never stepped foot on UCF's campus as a student, so I wouldn't say I transferred. It just was, you know, I never got to go there because of the scholarship situation. But the blessing in disguise was, for one, we won on the field more than UCF in my 4 years. And for two, being able to go somewhere that I didn't value at first, it really, really had an impact on me because I found value in a place that I didn't know it was. You know, I had all this value set up in my mind for University of Central Florida and the opportunities, and none set up for Florida Atlantic University. And to be able to go there, and I still go back and speak there now. You know, I'm removed 10 years from graduating from college, and I still go back, you know, football, I get to go on the field and different things. So, you know, those are certain things that you just can't explain early on of the decision of man, this is going to benefit me in this way. You know, it was a short-term sacrifice for a long-term payoff for me.
Wow. And so you have this good football career, and I'm just curious, where did you get the passion to say, I want to become an educator?
Oh, man, that definitely wasn't a passion, and, you know, I don't want any of the listeners to go look up no stats because it wasn't a great career. When I played at Florida Atlantic University, as I stated, I was one of the top receivers there. Anybody will tell you that was on the team. Probably the hardest working player there. But in that situation, you know, politics does play its position when you don't have a scholarship. So I earned my way on the field. As a junior, I finally started playing. And I blocked more punts in school history, which is probably the hardest play to make in football.
Certainly.
You know, they don't block punts every game. Some teams don't block punts for years. And I was able to block some punts and, you know, make some significant plays. But at the next level, I wanted to play in the NFL. I didn't care nothing about no teaching or nothing else. I wanted to help kids. That was always on my radar. I wanted to make it and be able to help kids financially and, you know, coming back and speaking and having camps, just like all the other guys that I know. But the plan shifted when I realized that it just wasn't happening. I tried out for the Dolphins, tried out for some other teams, then I dropped down and tried out for Arena. It didn't work. And then I was like, you know what? I just want to help kids. So I got into coaching, which led into the teaching because at the time, my wife, she was like, you know, I just think that you'll be really good at teaching. And I'm like, yeah, right. I don't even like school. Like, I had a 4.13 GPA in high school, and I hated school. I did it because I wanted to get up out of there. So, you know, what happened was that along my journey, you know, I realized that would be the easiest way to impact the kids and, you know, at the same time, occupy my mind, you know, as far as not making it in the NFL. You know, it was another low point in life. But I dug deep and had fun doing it, and I ran every sprint and trained with the kids, and the opportunity came. Then I made it on it, professional indoor football team, and I was actually playing football, coaching, and teaching for 3 years. So that was pretty cool, and that's what really got me started in the classroom. And I'm very competitive, so when I came into the classroom, I wanted to be the best at what I did. You know, no matter that I didn't go to school for education, I went to school and got a business management degree. And then I took the alternate route once I was an educator to take the graduate level courses so that I could be a certified teacher.
Man, that's amazing. So you start this career in teaching and be a certified teacher. Where did you get your biggest break?
My biggest break was the very first one. My best friend, Philip Buchanan, he played in the NFL for 11 years. He reached back to one of his basketball coaches from high school who had became a principal, Mr. McPhee. And it was back home, which I didn't want to do, go back home, but I had to, you know, bite the pride, swallow the pride, and go on back. And I went back, and this guy, he offered me a job to be a full-time teacher and a coach. And I had just been turned down from just being a coach in the Miami area before I went back home in Fort Myers. So it was a big break for me. And then the school was an A school. We won every game but one that year. I went to like the second or third round of the playoffs. Sent a lot of girls on full scholarships for track. You know, my first year as a head coach on track. So I got a big break in my first opportunity.
Man, I mean, and it sounds like even though even outside of just learning education-wise, you're impacting a lot of people's lives and what they love to do. And I applaud you for that, man, most certainly. So there's somebody right now that's listening to this podcast, and they want to go out and they want to be an educator. Is there any advice that you can give that person?
Oh, man, the best advice is to get started now. You know, if you have a college degree, you can actually be hired. I know in the state of Florida, you can be hired, and then you can get all the other tests and different things taken care of while you're hired. You just have to take that subject area test. And to pass the subject area test, man, it's like basic skills. You know, some people say, I'm not good at math, I'm not good at that. Well, find that one subject that you really, really fell in love with. Math was it for me. I was always good with numbers. And, you know, just go study that test. You got one test stopping you from changing people's lives. You know, that's the one test. You know, subject area test. You pass that, you can be hired as a teacher. If you pass that and you have a degree in anything, you can become a teacher.
Man.
Oh, yeah.
Sure a lot of people didn't know. I've never heard of that.
Yeah, and I found that out the hard way. There's one more thing that I would say also. If you're becoming a first-year teacher, or even you're a rookie, second-year teacher or whatever, or you're thinking about it, get to some of these self-care conferences. I'm actually headlining one in Chicago and one in Miami, and I got some other possibility ones in Texas and some other states. But, man, get to these conferences. There's so much tools and breakout sessions of how to navigate through it and to really make your impact, not just in the classroom, but outside. There's teachers that make $1 million right now, so I don't know what your excuse is, the money or whatever. Yeah, there's a whole other world out there. So, please get to those conferences.
Wow. And, so many people say, okay, I really want to go do this, but I don't think teachers make a lot of money. And then there's some people that like you, they identify, the hot spots. So how did you identify those hot spots and, say, okay, there are so many other things I can do with this?
Man, when you're walking in purpose, things will just start to get positioned around you, man. And I was just walking in my purpose. I was posting these motivational videos for 2.5 years straight, trying to help my kids, because a lot of the students were saying, hey, Mr. Rivera, how do I get that motivation? Like, you should make an Instagram or do something. I'm like, I don't like social media. But finally, I gave in. I said, you know what? I'm going to only post motivational things. So I started posting all these videos, and people realized what my occupation was as an educator. I started to speak on it here and there, and I started getting this whole, following of teachers. And then I said, well, how do I really reach them? Because if I reach one teacher, that teacher is in charge of anywhere from 25 to 30 kids in elementary to middle school. They're in charge of maybe 100 kids, in high school maybe 150 kids. If I reach that one teacher, I reach a large number of students. So I started going to these conferences, and I volunteered to speak at one. They accepted me, and I just killed it. And once I killed that, they start paying me to come. And, it's a whole nother world they introduced me to.
Wow. So walking in your purpose, I think it is beyond, just a gem that you're giving people right now, and walking in your purpose. So many times people want to go do this, they want to go do that. But once you identify that right? That gift, the thing that you do the best with the least amount of effort, it seems like things change. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. I actually met with Harvey last year, and Steve is, a magnificent person to actually listen to on that subject of your gift, not just being able to run, jump, sing, or do these different things, but it's what you do with the least amount of effort better than everybody else. And when I spoke to Steve and I got that reassurance and realignment of what I'm doing is worthy of doing, man, I just never looked back, and I just went at it. Because at first, when you're walking in your purpose, you can't predict the actual income that's going to come from it. So at first, you might not make a dime doing it, but if you do it well enough, the income has to come, because it's necessary. You're here for a reason. So if you're manifesting that reason and you're doing what you're supposed to, eventually the income has to show up.
I certainly agree with that, man. So I want to know this particular question. There's currently somebody that's listening that's asking themselves, the question of the podcast, whether they are a college dropout, whether they're a current student or a former student. If you were to give that advice to that person asking themselves, school's over, now what would it be?
Oh, man. I'm not an advocate for going to school unless what you plan on doing, which for the rest of your natural life, lines up with that, or at least is a part of the transition. Like, if you want to be a teacher or a doctor or a lawyer, you have to go to college, and then your next thing is set up. But I say get into your purpose, your craft, whatever it is. If you know that you can cut hair better than anybody else, you need to go to barber school. You need to get into those things, because, that person who drops out or stops college early and finds that thing what they're supposed to be doing, they might not get the degree. But last time I checked, a boss does not have to have a degree. You need a whole bunch of degrees to work for the boss, but you don't need one to be the boss. And, for me, after school was over, I didn't know what the heck to do. I had this business management degree, and nobody would hire me. that's pretty much the rhyme that was going on. Business management degree, and they wouldn't hire me. I had no type of on-job training experience or anything because I had played college football, and I didn't have an opportunity to go to any of these, internships or any of that stuff. I didn't understand that. I just thought I was going to make it in football, create a business, and come back and help kids. So when school was over, I had to do some soul searching, and, I actually created this worksheet that allows people to find their purpose within 7 questions, and you can really find out what you're really good at. And I'm definitely going to release that along with my new book. I'm actually coming out with a daily motivation. You're the first one to hear about it. I actually just finished up the cover, and we're going to start doing some of these pre-sales, and we're really going to help some people be impacted, man, on a daily basis, because so many people say, read, do this, do that, and it's just too much. It's overwhelming. I'm going to break it down, and I'm going to give you 180 pages, which is 180 days to do a 180 in your life.
Oh, man.
Make a whole turnaround.
Man. I mean, we definitely got to get that in the show notes. JR, I appreciate you. I appreciate your time. I know this is adding so much value to a lot of people right now. How can people reach you?
Oh, man, I can be reached on Instagram _JR Rivera. You can find me on Twitter. I'm hardly on there, but it's Rivera _reaches you. On Facebook, it's just JR Rivera. And, man, I'm always on Instagram. I'm always checking it. I try to check almost all of my messages. That's the best way to reach out to me. Also, my email is on my Instagram. So all the information is there. I also have a website, milemindset.com. And I also have a YouTube channel, JR Rivera.
Man, perfect. Man, I appreciate you, man, and everything you do. As always, guys, remember, dream it, believe it, go out and get it. What you think? I hope you enjoyed today's episode. I want to know what you learned. So if you wouldn't mind, would you take a screenshot of you listening to the podcast on your phone right now? Upload to your Instagram stories, tag me at Shawn R. Anthony _, and then let me know in that Instagram story what is one thing that you learned. I love hearing from you, my listeners, thought leaders, former or current students all around the world. Let me know, and while you're doing this, go inside the podcast app, subscribe, leave a 5-star review and a 5-star rating. Again, this helps us reach more people. And if you want to be a part of this mission, helping us change the world one person at a time, it makes a massive difference by you leaving a review. Thanks so much. I'll see you next week. And remember, dream it, believe it, go out and get it.